Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I wanted to do is have a little vest pocket talk about getting started. Somebody without much money, and they're younger, and they're just starting. They want to get into watch collection, and so I thought, well, this might be a sort of a little starter one, or at least give you the kind of idea. Now, these are three watches. They're all Swiss. They're all mechanical. And just as a suggestion, not as, oh, this is what you must do. Okay. So let me talk about them. There are three types. One is an office watch. Now, this is the kind of watch that you just sort of wear every day to work at office work. The second's a chronograph. These are very popular among watch collectors, and they're sort of fun because they got all kinds of gizmos on them. And the third is a GMT. Now, this is for a travel watch, and this is something if you go from across time zones, it can be very helpful to have. And it's also an interesting part of a collection. Now, the first one I want to start with is this office watch. This is a Tissot Heritage Petite Seconde. And the reason this one was selected is because it's a fairly plain watch, easy to read, hand wound. All right, it's something. If you're gonna be collecting watches, I think it's good to have a hand wound watch. The retail on this is $9.95, and I found one for $6.49. They're not very difficult to find on the secondary markets for a much lower price. Now, these are all new prices. Now, this one has an ETA Unitas 6498-1 movement. And this is an 18,000 VPH movement, which is 2.5 hertz. It's very slow, not the most popular speed, but when you find all of the tip-top watchmakers, this is what they use. This one has a nice big balance wheel at around, you can see it there around 4 o'clock. That's a nice size one, and the bigger they are, the more stable they are. And I think this is a good one because it's got a story behind it. It's not a fancy watch or anything like that, but it's an interesting one, horologically speaking. Now, the next one is a chronograph, and I found a Maurice Lacroix, Les Classiques Chronograph. And this one it's either a caliber 112, ML 112 or 117. Essentially, the movement is, again, all of these have Swiss movements. This one is an ETA Valjoux 7750. Valjoux 7750 is probably the most common, the most widely used automatic chronograph that there is. Now, this one retails for almost $3,000, but I found it for $875. Again, when we're talking about not going into the store and saying, hey, this is what I want, but rather looking around, and you can find some good prices. Why Maurice Lacroix? Well, I got one. I didn't think too much of Maurice Lacroix, and I got this one because I like the movement in it. But it turns out that the case and everything else about it was very well made. And I talked to a former judge from the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève. He said, Maurice Lacroix is a really good brand. And you can see from the initial price, they're pretty pricey, but they're not that popular. And that's okay with collectors because that means you're not going to pay as much. Okay, the final one is a travel watch, GMT, the Greenwich Mean Time. That's what GMT stands for. And this one's the Hamilton Cocky Aviation Air Race GMT. And it's got an ETA 2893-1 in it. Now, these retail for about $1,500, but I found it for $665. The kinds of places you look at, places like Shop Worn, Joma Shop, there are a bunch of places online where you can find some really good buys. And if your local AD is willing to give you considerations, you can get good deals from them too. But anyway, if you're on a really low budget and you're interested in mechanical watches, Swiss watches, these three I sort of saw as a starting point. Now, what I'd like to hear from you, especially if you're more experienced collectors, any other ideas that you might have. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.